right, so welcome everyone. Sue, John, Kenneth, Iona, thanks for joining the afternoon session. So let me share my screen. We'll just have a little look at the quote, and we'll go into the lesson. So anyone who wants to can read that. I'll just have a little discussion on this, which will lead us nicely into the quote.
She released her grievances like handfuls of birdseed. They are there and they are gone. I really like seeing the pronoun she. It just popped up.
It was just meant for you, I think.
Yeah, it would be so, maybe a translation of the course would be nice, just to relieve it, to think about our sister, yes, it's yeah.
I think that's from a novel, actually. Gillian Flynn's a novelist, so it's an excerpt from one of her novels.
So to sort of, scatter like broadside.
Yeah, I like the idea. It's just like birdseed. Just toss it away. There's no attachment to birdseed. You just give it away freely.
Yeah.
So that's the idea with grievances. Just drop them, let them go. Don't hold on to them. There's no value there. Yeah. Give them away freely, and you'll be free.
Yeah.
And birds are a symbol of freedom. Flight, freedom. So just quite a nice image that it evokes. So imagine how free you'd be if you just tossed them all away. It's like, okay, so every grievance, because a grievance just blocks your own awareness of pure formless awareness, doesn't it? That's all it does. So it's that block and that limitation that you're just releasing and saying, no, whatever it is, minor, major, I'm not going to hold that, because you hold that and then you're not in love or pure formless awareness. It's as simple as that. So who suffers? You do, because you're not connected to your source anymore, as he says. So there's a little bonus recording for you. That's the Miracle Network discussion and meditation I did exactly a year ago actually today, which was quite a good. That's actually where I met Sue, isn't it? So
yeah,
it's been a year since we met, Sue.
It seems such a long time.
Yeah, and that kicked off. Well, I guess Iona wouldn't be here. It kicked off all of us. So amazing, just a little encounter like that.
Great.
What can happen from these holy encounters? Okay, so let's have a look at the lesson. So Sue, when you read the lesson and then paragraph 1, please.
Yeah. Love holds no grievances. You who were created by love like itself can hold no grievances and know yourself. I'll say that again. You who were created by love like itself can hold no grievances and know yourself. To hold a grievance is to forget who you are. To hold a grievance is to see yourself as a body. To hold a grievance is to let the ego rule your mind and to condemn the body to death. Perhaps you do not yet fully realize just what holding grievances does to your mind. It seems to split you off from your source and make you unlike him. It makes you believe that he is like what you think you have become. It makes you believe that he is like what you think you have become. For no one can conceive of his creator as unlike himself.
Okay, you want to read the translation below, and then we'll just unpack it sentence by sentence.
Yeah, you who were created by love like itself can hold no grievances and know yourself, your true self. To hold a grievance is to...
Make sense? Just do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Stating a simple truth. You can't know yourself with grievances.
Yeah.
Self is the higher self, or the Christ, the one self that unites you with pure formless awareness.
Yeah, so if you're holding grievances, then you're not as love.
Yeah, I actually could have translated created as extended. You were extended by love like itself. I think that maybe makes more sense.
Yeah.
You were extended by love like itself, because you were extended by that loving presence. You are the extension of it. And so you forget who you are. You forget that you are that extension when you hold the grievance.
And to hold a grievance is to see yourself as a body. Because bodies have thoughts and feelings and history. Think of the future, think of the past. To hold a grievance is to let the belief in separation rule your mind and to condemn the body to death. Because if you're a body, you're going to die.
Yeah, exactly. So the ego is trying to identify with the body, with the form, to maintain its belief in separation. And of course, bodies will die inevitably. So body's trying to say to us, this is what a grievance does. Don't think it's some minor, oh well, just a little grievance, another one. This is what you're doing to your mind, to yourself, when you hold the grievance.
Perhaps you do not yet fully realize just what holding grievances does to your mind. It seems to split you off from your source and make you unlike it. Yeah, because it's keeping the belief in separation. It's believing we're a body. It makes you believe that it, i.e. pure form of awareness, is like what you think you have become. I don't get that.
Okay. Well, then he explains it, for no one can conceive of his source as unlike himself.
Right. So because we've got grievances, we think that our source, is angry with us, for instance.
We think our source thinks the same way, because no one can conceive of his source as unlike himself. So, look at the mad conception of a fearful, wrathful, vengeful God that is in so many religions. Old Testament is laced with it. This angry God who seems to hold grievances. God has a grievance against everyone because you've sinned. You're bad people. So now you must be punished. So then we project that onto God, and we think that this is what God is. Some kind of angry God who holds grievances. And there's a particularly pernicious version of that. I will visit the sins of the father unto the 7th generation. He actually mentions it later in the course. That is a horrendous projection of this vicious punishing God that's going to hold the grievance for 7 generations. And this is what we project onto God, because that's what we believe we are. And then interesting, these Islamic and Jewish particularly, you look at the conflict that's gone between them for so many generations, generation after generation after generation in that Middle East era, just fighting, holding the grievance, never letting it go, and it just continues, because they believe that God is some kind of just God that's gonna punish. So that conception of God and the tendency to hold grievances are one and the same.
If you go back to Aztec and Mayan civilizations, though, you've got sun worship, haven't you? So they're not in that situation. They're not conceiving their creator as themselves.
Well, so if you, I don't know if you ever watched that Mel Gibson movie. What was it called? It was quite shocking. It was about that whole civilization, and what they were doing to each other. And the kind of quote at the beginning was, every civilization actually destroys itself from within before it gets destroyed from without. And so they were kind of at war with each other. And there was this tribe that was kind of ruling the others, and took prisoners, and then just chopped their heads off. It was quite shocking. And then they showed all of this in graphic detail in the movie. And then right at the end of the movie, the Spanish come, and because that's going to be the end of the civilization. You see the last scene, the Spanish have arrived, and they're rowing their boats into the shore, and the guys are like, whoa, who are these people? So there was a lot of attack and anger and grievances, and even though they worship the sun, it's like, what are you actually thinking? The God you worship is what's dominating your thoughts and your emotions. And then they would project that maybe onto the sun god as well. But just the way they're behaving is the God that they're honoring. So that's worth watching. I'm not sure we'll do that as a movie watching. It's a bit gory.
Yeah.
But it's worth watching as well, because Mel Gibson's making the point that it's like, well, that society actually decayed from within. Everyone was like, oh, the minds were so advanced, and it's like, no, not really. They were just like killing each other and slaughtering each other, and so the spiritual energy was completely wrong. And then the Spanish come, and they do to them what they were doing to others. Yeah. It's like, that's how it works. You attack others, then that's karma. It's going to come back. So I don't think they were particularly advanced. There's kind of a fantasy that the minds were all so advanced and that they all like ascended together as one ray. It's like, it's just not true. It's nonsense. There was a lot of ego governing them. The point here is making is that you will conceive of a God as you think of yourself.
Yeah.
So we create God in our own image.
Right.
You see that very clearly. Old Testament particularly, they created that vicious, judgmental, vengeful God, because that was in their minds. That's what they believed in, and they projected it onto God. And Jesus came to change that. The New Testament was like, okay, no, guys, you're wrong. This concept of God is false. God is love, and that's all He is. And this vicious, vengeful God is an illusion. It's a false God, and they couldn't accept that, so they killed him because they were so attached to the old version. And what it requires is a total change of mind, doesn't it? To conceive of God as only love, and this unconditionally loving presence, means you have to become that.
That makes sense.
If God is your source, and you are creating the image and likeness of God, which they're saying, the Jewish believe that as well, then you have to become like that, and then the ego's out of business, because there's no judgment there and there's no grievances, and so that's very threatening for the belief in separation. And so we have to deny it and kill the messenger, rather than accept the truth of what he's saying. Okay, so Sue, you want to give a little summary of that?
Yeah, so when we hold grievances, we forget the truth of who we are, and think that our Creator against us.
We project our grievances, or that thought system, onto our Creator, and we make up a false God. Separate ourselves from the true self, capital Self, which unites us with God or Source. So this self is the Christ. This self-concept, this higher self-concept, is why it's capitalized, brings you into the state of pure formless awareness. So Christ, or your true self, unites you with God, brings you into the state of mind, which is why it's quite a useful learning device in this illusory world, to think of the higher self rather than the lower self or the ego. Okay, happy with that? Any questions on that? Shall we move on to number 2?
I'm happy to do this one.
Yeah.
Shut off from yourself, capital S, which remains aware of its likeness to its creator, yourself seems to sleep. So I'm understanding self with a capital S as being our real self, our higher self, our real identity.
Christ.
Christ.
Christ would be that's the Christian, which he does use sometimes, but now he's using self, which I think is more direct. Good use of the word.
Yourself seems to. While the part of your mind that weaves illusions in its sleep appears to be awake. Can all this arise from holding grievances? Question mark. Oh, yes. For he who holds grievances denies he was created by love. And his creator, his source, has become fearful to him. Who can dream of hatred? Pure formless awareness.
Okay.
Let's just go through those last couple of lines. For he who holds grievances denies he was created by love. So he denies that by cutting off from source. Because you're going to hold grievances, you are disengaging from source and feeding negative ideas. And its source has become fearful to him in his of hate. So we cut off from source, and then his creator has become fear, and then source becomes fearful to us in our dream of hate. So we're back to where we were the other night, actually, aren't we? This idea of we separate and then feel guilty to the degree that we emotionally deny what we've done and block identification with source and try and turn against it.
Yeah, and then we project it onto others, and we project it onto our concept of God. Let's just have a look at this diagram, shall we? Where are we? Course manual. So go back to the descent into hell and look at the metaphysics of this. So grievances make guilt real, don't they? They confirm that something has happened. Grievance is based on the idea that no, it's really happened, it's real, and someone is guilty and someone must pay. And the grievance is saying, no, it's not me, it's someone else. So now I project that onto someone else, and I blame them. So this is the ego's projection of guilt outwards as blame and attack. And then we must project this idea onto a concept of a fearful, wrathful, separate God. See, because that's our self-concept. So now we project it onto God and say, oh well, actually this must be what God thinks as well. And so God holds a grievance against us, and now we are eternally damned because God holds all of our sins against us, and has a grievance against us, and will punish us. So then you have the false expectation of punishment appearing real, and the punishment's going to come from this false God. And so it's a complete thought system unto itself. You know, the one leads into the other. You see that. Once you go down the path of separation and then guilt, grievances, and this concept of a fearful, wrathful, vengeful God are inevitable. Does that make sense?
I think when you describe it, Jono, you go, for me, you go a bit too quick.
Okay.
And
you want to unpack it a bit.
Yeah.
What are you not understanding?
Okay, so we have this sense of individuality, and that, so we've separated in our minds, in our idea, and we then feel guilty because we've turned our back on God. There's just something about that I can't quite get hold of.
Well, we haven't just turned our back on God. We think we've destroyed God. We've destroyed love. We've destroyed this state of absolute purity and bliss, and everything was truly valuable.
Okay, so
we've now destroyed that.
Why would we think we've destroyed God?
Because in order to be separate, have a separate identity, you must deny oneness. You can't be one and separate at the same time. See, so the ego's separate identity it rests on the seeming fact that God is no longer love, and let's not use the word God. Let's use love or oneness or pure formless awareness. That is no longer. You now have a separate identity, and that state, it's a state of mind that's gone. That's now out of your awareness, and you think you've destroyed it.
Okay, so we think we've destroyed it by so in our search for separation, because I'm understanding the search for separation, but in order
search for separation, what do you mean? It's search. You mean
there's a desire to have this tiny mad idea. There's this desire to do one's own thing, and what you're saying is that in order to do that, we have to actually think that we've killed Source.
Yeah, destroyed it. Because otherwise there would be no ego, there would be no separate identity. There's only Source, only perfect oneness in our minds. Then
if a young, if a 2-year-old desires to do its own thing, it goes off and it wanders down the street and clears off. And let's have to ignore that. But it doesn't think he's killed his parents.
Well, it feels like it's abandoned its parents.
Is it?
Yeah. So it might seem to be a good idea, but then kicks in. Oh, I've left my parents, and you're gonna feel a sense of wrongdoing as a 2-year-old. But we're talking metaphysically here. This is happening at the highest or deepest level of the mind. So the analogy with a 2-year-old isn't necessarily accurate.
No, I get that, but I wish I could find an analogy that did kind of fit.
Well, you think so. You think of it in terms of a state of mind, right? You have perfection. You have this absolute. It's glorious. It's beautiful. Just such a beautiful state of mind. There's nothing else going on. It's just pure formless awareness. You're in love. You feel loved. You feel loving. You feel connected. It's just everything's like this is paradise, right? Heaven, paradise. It's beautiful. And now you have this tiny mad idea, and it kind of intrigues you, and you desire it, and then you believe in it, and then suddenly that state is gone from your mind, And that beautiful peace of mind and just feeling totally loved and loving, that's now shattered. And you feel like you've destroyed it. You go, oh my God, what have I done? This is awful. This is too terrible. But I'm still intrigued by the idea of separation. I'm still intrigued by my own identity. So I actually want that, but I don't want the guilt that I'm now experiencing. So then I have to find a means to get rid of the guilt and maintain the belief in separation. And not realize that I can't have the belief in separation without guilt. So the ego is trying to fudge it and say, well, no, you can keep the belief in separation, but you can offload the guilt onto someone else. And that's what a grievance is. You're offloading the guilt onto someone else, saying you to blame. And God, see, this is where the concept of a false God comes in, because you're saying that God is going to kill or destroy, punish the person who I'm projecting my guilt onto through the grievance. So God's not going to get me. I'm okay. God's going to get you now. I'm going to project it onto you. And so underneath the idea of grievances is this false idea of a fearful and vengeful God, who's now going to get the person who I'm holding the grievance against rather than me. So they're the guilty ones and they're going to be punished rather than me. And that's a very childish and insane conception of the ego. And that's how it tries to deal with guilt. It's by holding grievances and projecting its guilt onto someone else, because it believes that then the other person's going to be punished and not you. And so then you're off the hook, and the guilt's going to go somewhere else. So it's a transfer of guilt.
Yeah. No, I understand the whole projection thing. It's this moment of believing that I have killed God. I just can't get that connection with it. I mean, I understand. Yeah, I've heard it many times before. You know, it's often said, but it doesn't kind of really resonate with me.
Think of it as a state of mind. So there was a time. Well, it wasn't a time. It was beyond time. But before time, you had pure formless awareness. It was absolutely perfect. You were in bliss forever. It was just the most lovely state.
Yeah.
And then this tiny mad idea and the guilt that seemed to come with it shatters that state. It obliterates that state, and you think that you have now destroyed that state forever. And it's impossible to get into that state again.
Why should that tiny mad idea shatter that state? A tiny mad idea is kind of virtually powerless.
Yeah, but you believed in it. You believed in it. That's the problem. So the tiny mad idea wouldn't have had any power if we just went, oh, it's just a tiny mad idea, you know, but we believed in it. That's the problem. Because we wanted it. So we wanted it. The desire creates belief. We believe in it. And now the idea seems to have power because we've given it power, because our minds are powerful and our belief is powerful. And so now we believe in what's not true. And that kicks off a whole series of consequences, guilt and sin and fear and attack, and this concept of a fearful, wrathful, vengeful God in our minds that all destroy oneness. You're not in pure formless awareness if you're guilty or you're feeling fear. You know, that state of mind is not there, and you're now in another state of mind that's hellish by comparison, because you feel very uncertain, you feel like you're going to be punished, you feel attacked, and you know, this is what the ego's done to shatter your awareness, your pure formless awareness. You can't be in pure formless awareness and have all of these thoughts and emotions going on.
I can kind of equate with it more in my mind if I see myself as being in pure formless awareness. So I am a believer in God, and then something comes along, not just a tiny mad idea, but a whole belief system that I buy into. So I am a believer in God, and
well, So let's clarify that. You're not a believer. You are that state. That state is your true state. It's not belief, it's knowledge. That's why he uses the idea of knowledge beyond belief. So it's a perfect state of mind.
Yeah, okay. I am in this perfect I'm in this perfect state of mind, and a belief system comes along that somehow I get tempted into. It is so it is so wrong that I then feel embarrassed, stupid, and even to the extent that I could believe that, yeah, okay, I can kind of get it, that if I go down that line, in the sense of it's a belief system that I buy into for some crazy idea. I mean, I don't, if I'm in pure formless awareness, I don't see why I would be tempted to take on a...
Well, you've only ever known pure formless awareness. So now something else comes in and you go, oh, that could be interesting. That's a little different. Maybe that could be better. Let's go. Let's give this a try. Give it a whirl. And of course, then the consequences are you don't know what the consequences are at that point, because it's just an idea you've never had before. So you follow the idea, and then it develops into this full-blown belief system and thought system, and now you're stuck in guilt and sin and fear and attack and this idea of a vengeful, wrathful God, and your peace of mind is shattered. Pure formless awareness has been seemingly destroyed, and you feel bereft and you feel guilty. Oh my God, I can't believe I've done this thing.
Yeah.
But the desire, you still don't want to give up the separate identity. You want to hang on to that, but let go of the consequences, but you can't.
Okay, I guess what's also kind of problematic for me is that I'm assuming that all this happens in a brief period of time, whereas
it's before time. This all happens in the mind, and then when the projection happens, this massive explosion of guilt and fear outwards to miscreate the physical universe, then time begins. But before that, there was just a thought in the mind that happens. Yeah, it's beyond. We can't even put time to it. But all of that, this preceded time. The ego, individuality, guilt, false expectation of punishment appearing real. All of this is what kicked off then the Big Bang, which then seemed to create time. Because we now have an event in form, so now we have space and time simultaneously miscreated by the mind, and now we have a starting point, and now from here on we're going to have the conception of linear time, past leading to future.
Yeah, so what I'm getting is that there's a somewhat innocent tiny mad idea, oh, this might be different, this might be different, this might be a change, I'll try this. On a thought level, and that happens relatively naively. But then, I mean, for this, it's not in time, but from our perspective, I need to see it in time in order to understand it not be.
Okay.
But over time, that tiny mad idea actually accumulates and accumulates and accumulates and produces such an energy. Because it's going in the wrong direction, somehow it's producing negative energy. Well, I'm going off on one. And then for me, I can understand that the thought can actually multiply to such a degree that then you get a Big Bang. And then you get the manifestation of what we see as physical.
Yeah. It's thought projected outwards. So we literally went out of our minds and we invented this world that now seemingly is outside of us, and it's all thought, just projected outwards and seemingly now in what we can see and perceive as form, which is very cunning. And of course, we didn't really know what we were doing. when we did that. So okay, so we're in a blind panic. We're fearing the punishment of God. Ego says, "Follow me. Let's go. Let's create a world, a reality where God can't get you." And we're in this terrible panic, and the intensity of the emotion now creates the projection, and splits the mind, and we're now living in that projection. We're literally still out of our minds. To try and escape from this punishment that was never true. It was never true that God was going to punish us. That was entirely a miscreation of the ego. So all of it's for no reason. The universe, there's no good reason for it. This is what the teaching is saying. So when you say, Iona, to return to our conversation about what Lucy posted, sent to me, and when you say form is sacred, you're saying that the projection of guilt and fear is sacred. Whoa, no, don't go down that road, because you can't make that sacred and holy when it's not. It's got nothing to do with love at all. It's a part of a split in the mind. So what underlies it is still pure formless awareness. But don't look to form for that. You've got to look beyond the form. You've got to overlook the form, which is this whole teaching of letting go of forgiveness. You must overlook it in order to overcome it. Just don't see it because it's not true and it's not really there. It's a miscreation of your mind, projected outwards, seemingly real, but not in truth. So the metaphysics then lead directly to the remedy for the problem. So you accept as metaphysics, and the only way out is to let go of all of your projections and the attachment to them. Don't make them real. You make them real, then you make the separation real, and you're stuck in it forever, which is, of course, where the ego wants to keep you. Okay, does that help, John?
Yeah. I think that takes me further forward. Yeah. Yeah.
In the end, the metaphysics are interesting, but in the end, really all we've got to do is accept and say, okay, yes, so this is true, and then the remedy is simple. I've got to let it go. Yeah. So the Buddha would have said to you, he would have said, well, if I shot an arrow into your side, John, are you going to ask me where the arrow came from? Who made the arrow? What's the origin of the arrow? How did the arrow come about? Or are you just going to pull the arrow out? So his approach was very practical. He said, just take out the arrow, which is the grievance, remove it from your mind. And when you do, then naturally you'll restore your mind to what he called nirvana. It will happen, and you don't have to worry about the metaphysics too much. Just do what's required. So that's another approach to saying, okay, well, like in truth, it's very hard to really understand this, because it's not understandable. As he says, the Holy Spirit can't understand insanity. So you're trying to make sense of what doesn't really make sense. Yeah. You just got to understand this is the ego's insane logic, and it doesn't make any sense. Don't try and make sense of it, but this was what it believes. And the way out of this is simply to let go of all forms of it. And a grievance is a primary form of it. So, okay, I must let go of the grievance, drop the grievance, and then I will have the experience of pure formless awareness arising more and more in my mind. And I will learn by my experience that this is true. Because as that experience dawns more and more in your mind, you start accepting the truth and saying, yeah, well, this is working. And I'm feeling the love, and I'm feeling the peace, and all of this hellish belief system is being undone. And so it's working, so let me continue doing more of it. And then you go beyond the metaphysics, and you just go to practical application and the experience of it, which is what he's trying to take us into. So don't get sidetracked by the trying to understand the ego, because that's not really understandable. It's useful to have some kind of framework. I get that. But if this stops you, but not understanding that stops you from letting go and forgiving, then it's not helpful. See? Then it's just the ego getting caught up in its own confusion to try and prevent you, another little sneaky trick to prevent you from actually letting it go and finding pure formless awareness again. So be aware of that as well. Okay, so happy with number 2?
Yeah, thank you.
Moving swiftly on to number 3.
It is.
Iona.
It is as sure that those who hold grievances will redefine God in their own image, as it is certain that God created them like himself and defined them as part of him. It is as sure that those who hold grievances will suffer guilt, as it is certain that those who forgive will find peace. It is as sure as those who hold grievances will forget who they are, and it is certain that those who forgive will remember. It is as sure as those who hold grievances will redefine pure formless awareness in their own image, as it is certain that pure formless awareness created them like itself and defined them as part of it. It is as sure that those who hold grievances will suffer guilt, as it is certain that those who let go will find peace. It is as sure that those who hold grievances will forget who they are, as it is certain that those who let go will remember who they are. Right. So if I believe that God is wrathful, vengeful, then that is my image of myself. And that's my world.
Yeah. You find God in your own image. So we,
yeah.
You know, when the Bible says, well, you're created in the image and likeness of God, well, actually, we created God in our own image and likeness.
It's that way around, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's, of course, total falsehood. How can you create your creator? That's ridiculous. But that's the ego for you. Doesn't make any sense.
So that's the certainty, just as the certainty is that pure formless awareness created me like itself and defined me as part of it. That's certain. So if I hold a grievance, I'm going to be guilty because I'm projecting out and believing in form and making somebody else wrong.
I'm projecting my guilt. So here's the thing. If you keep giving guilt, then what do you say?
I'm making guilt real.
I must be making it real. I'm guilty.
Yeah.
I'm projecting it from a source in my mind. And the more I project it, the more I'm actually confirming that guilt is real. And I have lots of it to give away.
Yeah.
So it's not really working. The ego's strategy for getting rid of guilt doesn't work. It actually just reinforces the guilt.
Yeah, it's really a sort of buy one, get one free because there's lots to go. But
and you just keep doing it.
It's certain that if I let go, but if I let go, I will find peace. Peace is my natural state. If I hold a grievance, I forget who I actually am, which is as infinite as pure formless awareness. I am pure formless awareness. And I will remember in letting go who I am. So let go.
That's a very simple teaching when he puts it like this. I mean, it's not rocket science. It's like, this is how it is. He's saying, look, this is how it is. You can't change the equation. You can't fudge it and think that by holding grievances, you'll know who you are. It's not possible.
Yeah.
This is how it is. So accept it. And then there's one remedy, and that's to let go. So just do what I'm telling you to do and let go. And you'll remember your source and you'll be free of the whole dream.
Yeah.
So one simple thing he's asking us to do, forgive or let go of all your grievances.
Yeah.
And you'll be free. Because with grievances goes guilt, goes attack thoughts, goes the idea of separation. If there's no grievance, then how can I be separate from you?
Yeah.
Then I see that my awareness is your awareness. See, the grievance separates us. So there's one thing that's the single thing that you have to do. It's also the hardest thing you'll ever do, of course.
Yeah.
Because the ego has huge resistance to letting go.
Yeah.
But there's only one thing. So it makes it so simple. There's not 10 things. I mean, you read many books and it's like, oh no, there's 10 things, or there's the 7 habits, or there's this, and it's all multiplicity. There's one thing you got to do. That's it. One simple thing. You got to let go. or forgive if you prefer. But I prefer the letting go term because it's like, yeah, this is what I got to do. I've got to drop it mentally and emotionally. I can't hold on to it. We know what it feels like when we're holding on. And when we also know what it feels like when we let go. It feels freeing and
I like the term letting go. I also like to be reminded to just drop it. But I think the art of letting go sounds better than the art of dropping it.
Yeah, I think so. So that's why I chose the name. And he uses letting go quite a bit in the course. He does say, you're going to let go.
I think that I'm just seeing a bit of amusement in that last sentence, in the sense of, as sure that those who hold grievances will forget who they are. I think that older people tend to forget forget who they are. Perhaps they're the ones who are holding more of the grievances.
Yeah, because they got more history in this life to hold. So if you 80, you've got 80 years of grievances. If you're only 20, then you've only got 20 years or less, because the first few years of your life you weren't even aware of the idea of grievances. And you see, I observe what ages people is grievances. People get very very stuck in their ways, and stuck in form, and it has an effect, as you can see, on their behavior, their physical bodies. It's the quickest way to age yourself is hold lots of grievances.
Yeah, well, and the other side of the coin is that you could put it in a can and promote it to older people, saying, "You got memory problems. Let go of your grievances."
Yeah. Well, in some ways, they say, people who have like serious Alzheimer's, they find a freedom beyond the illusion. And they're actually quite happy because they don't know anything. They're away with the fairies, but they've let go of all their grievances. That's all just dropped away, and they're actually quite happy. It's happened through, so-called mental illness, but they're happier than they were when they were so-called sane. So then one wonders what's sane and what's actually mentally ill. Because we think that like being conscious of the past and holding all our grievances is sanity, and it's not at all. And he's telling us here to hold a grievance is to identify yourself as a body and to condemn the body to death. So of course it's going to age you if you hold grievances, because that's your concept. Then time is the concept. You make time real, then you're going to age, because everything decays in time. So this is why form is not sacred, because it's all going to decay and die. It's all part of this thought system that's based on grievances, based on an attack on God. So how can you make that sacred? It never can be. You can only look beyond it to what's sacred. Look at what underlies form. That's sacred, but not form itself.
I think you should package a product for the retired people, Jono.
The elixir of eternal youth. Just let go of your grievances. But the problem is it requires some work. It's not just something you can go, oh well, there we go, pop the pill, and it requires effort and work and letting go of your whole past. Really, this path is saying, well, in truth, your entire life, whether that's 70 years or 20 years or however old you are, your entire life never really happened. Thank God for that. So all your grievances are nothing, because they never really happened. They're just illusions in your mind. The memories aren't true. And that's quite a major thing for a lot of people, because that's all they have. As they get older, they cling to the memories. I noticed my dad, he's nostalgic about the past, and he's writing a book about, the good times. But that also means that everything's real. See? You can't have some of it and not have all of it. So along with the grievances, also go all the so-called good times. And it's like, okay, it was all a dream. I have to accept that.
So what does he mean when he says the past leaves nothing but blessings?
What do you think?
I wonder if it's the the lessons that I had to learn in this life that would ultimately form my learning to come to this point.
When you can really let it go, there's no grievance anymore, then there's only a blessing. Oh, that was a lesson that was useful. It helped me to come to this awareness of who I really am.
Yeah.
So the past is only a blessing. I've reinterpreted all of the grievances and whatever was seemingly bad into well, this was just a lesson that helped me to find myself. So why hold a grievance? So then I'm blessed. That actually, even if it was a really difficult lesson, at the time I really seemingly suffered, there's only a blessing because it helped me to find my true self, and it helped me to wake up. So that's the past reinterpreted from the Holy Spirit's point of view.
Reinterpret the past. Okay.
It was only there as a forgiveness lesson. That's it. The only purpose of it was to help you to become aware of the ego in you, belief in separation, and to let it go, so that you could free your mind back to God. That was the only purpose of it. Right. So that's now it blessed you because it was part of your journey back to God. So it can only be seen as a blessing, reinterpreted.
Yeah. Okay.
So remember, everything's for forgiveness.
Yes.
That's its purpose.
Everything's for letting go.
Yeah. So if you see that, then wow, okay, that was a really major trauma, but it forced me to go within and really look at the ego and drop a big part of its belief system. Ultimately, it might have taken me 20 years to do that, but then I can only be thankful for that, because this is how I learned this powerful lesson of who I really am. So then it's only a blessing, and there can only be gratitude for it. You remember in the 10-step process, step 9 is gratitude. If you can really feel that gratitude, it's like, oh wow, this actually taught me such a powerful lesson, and this has helped me restore my awareness to pure formless awareness of who I really am. I can only be thankful for that experience, and to the people who gave it to me, who gave me the opportunity. So you reinterpret yesterday's situation. Those guys were absolutely helping you to correct your mind and to learn a powerful lesson. And they were playing their role perfectly, because it wouldn't have worked if they were all kind and nice and friendly. You see that?
Yeah, I do.
So they played their role perfectly. They didn't know that they were playing the role because they're unconscious, but they were actually playing the role perfectly for you to learn that lesson. So it was all perfect in its apparent imperfection. Right? They showed up exactly as they should have. They played their role perfectly, and you got a powerful lesson as a result. So why would you hold a grievance when they did exactly what they should have done? Do you see how the Holy Spirit just reinterpret? If you really get this, every single situation in your life, just interpret it and say, well, it was all perfect. So why am I holding a grievance? They showed up exactly as they should show up. They did what they needed to do. And as a result, I got the opportunity to learn this powerful lesson. Oh, if I really get that, then guess what? I'm learning the lesson real time. I'm learning the lesson as I'm understanding this. So it's a complete reinterpretation of the ego's thought system of grievances into, well, these are there to just help me. Everything's there to help me, especially when it seems to be not the case. That's especially when it's there to help you. Someone's attacking you, being really not okay. Pay attention. Just this is especially now for me, because it seems to be so awful and painful, and it seems to be triggering me, and the belief in separation is arising strongly. Okay, well, how else am I going to see that belief unless I get the trigger, you see? But then, to go to our lesson yesterday and the previous day, don't focus on the error. Don't focus on your brother's error, because that keeps you from learning the lesson. Just go, okay, the trigger's useful, thank you. All right, now let me deal with my own stuff, because it's my own thoughts and emotion that's arising as a result of the trigger. That's the problem. So let me let that go, which I can do, because it's just a belief system in my own mind. And I don't focus on the external error, because the error is irrelevant. The error is actually in my mind. It's my own belief that's now been triggered. And the ego is always tempting you to project it out and say, oh no, it's the person who's the problem, and then you hold the grievance, you see. And this is a fundamental problem. If you do that, then you misinterpret everything. You're not seeing it truly. And you can never let it go. You're stuck in this grievance mindset, which is hell, saying, you know, this is to condemn yourself to death. Well, why would you do that when you can just so easily reinterpret it into something that's truly helpful? And then you become invulnerable and bulletproof, because it's like, okay, bring it on, whatever it is. If it's really painful and hard, then this is good, because it's getting me to the core of my ego. It's getting me to see that belief system, how awful it is, and then to give me the opportunity to let it go. So this is the genius of the Holy Spirit, you see. The very mechanism of projection that the ego is used to enslave you and confirm that it's true and confirm that the grievances and so are true is the mechanism that's going to free you. It just reinterprets the mechanism of projection and says, okay, actually this is now the way, the fast track into your subconscious to see what's really going on there, so that you can see it, bring it into conscious awareness, and drop it. And the ego's got no answer to that. Its only answer is to keep you trying to project and hold the grievance. That's its answer. So if you notice that we have a tendency to hold grievances and not to let it go, this is why. Because it's the ego defending. It's its only defense against this reinterpretation and the forgiveness of the Holy Spirit, the letting go. It has to hold the grievance. And that's why it's so sticky. That's why grievances are so hard to let go of, because it's fighting for its life. If you do this and you actually do reinterpret, it's game over. It can't sustain itself anymore. Which is why it's hard. It's why it's hard. But, you know, these principles, if you just keep applying them rigorously, okay, you know, there's no exceptions, rigorously apply it to every situation, the ego will be undone. It's got no answer to the Holy Spirit's forgiveness. Okay, happy with that answer? Sorry, quite a long answer to your question, but hopefully useful. You're getting the just like the brilliance of what Jesus is teaching here. It's so clever what he's saying. It's like you outsmarting the ego. The ego is very cunning and very wily, but it cannot face this reinterpretation that you can do of every grievance. It can't.
Excellent.
It's got no answer to that. So if you keep doing it, it's going to be undone. Okay.
This is the,
number 4, I think.
Would you not be willing to relinquish your grievances if you believed all this were so? Perhaps you do not think you can let your grievances go. That, however, is simply a matter of motivation. Today, we will try to find out how you would feel without them. If you succeed, even by ever so little, there will never be a problem in motivation, ever again. Wow. I wish that was so.
Well, he's saying to us, if you get a taste of this pure formless awareness, how you feel, then why would you have a problem with being motivated to let go of the grievance? It's like, wow, that was amazing. That was so freeing. So remember the state of mind that letting go of your grievances can bring you. I mean, think of some situation in the past where you've actually dropped a grievance and you felt a release. We've all had it. And think how good that felt. And then he's saying, well, remember how good that felt. Then why would you deny it? Why would you not want to have that feeling again? Why wouldn't you be motivated to let go of your grievances if it's going to bring you that release, that freedom, that peace, that joy? So now you're being motivated by the truth, by happiness and peace and joy, rather than by just avoiding pain. You're actually being motivated by, wow, this is just such an amazing state of mind. And so he's asking us just to, if we're not quite sure yet, just trust him, practice the exercise, get the experience, and then as we experience the benefits, then our motivation will strengthen. It has to. So you realize that one path leads you to chaos and destruction and misery and pain and suffering, and another leads you to love, peace, and joy. And why would you have any problem with being motivated to walk the correct path and just do what's necessary? So he's trying to motivate us to do this. Okay, happy with that?
Yeah.
Number 5.
Well, then we get into the practicalities of the lesson. Begin today's extended practice period by searching your mind for those against whom you hold what you regard as major grievances. Some of these will be quite easy to find. Then think of the seemingly minor grievances you hold against those you like and even think you love. Quickly become apparent that there is no one against whom you do not cherish grievances of some sort. This has left you alone in all the universe in your perception of yourself. So he's saying here, well, let's do the practice period by searching our mind for those we have very definite grievances against, and those who are close to us, who we have, quote, minor grievances against.
And say, if you're honest, you'll see that you hold grievances against everyone. And this has left you alone in all the universe in your perception of yourself.
Including, of course,
you have to think of yourself as separate from the person against whom you hold the grievance, don't you?
Including, of course, grievances against God.
Yeah. Yeah. So it makes you separate from God or Source. So you see what it does. A grievance separates your mind. It makes you into a separate self. But now is alone and seemingly threatened and attacked by other people outside of you in this imaginary universe you've invented. Splits your mind, separates your mind so clearly. So that's what he's asking us to see. You know, even the minor grievance. What does it do? It creates a sense of self, doesn't it? I, subject, perceive you, object, someone outside of me, separate from me, as having done this to me. It's totally dualistic, and it's based on separation. Okay, so then the rest is practice. So we go into a meditation. I'll guide you through practicing it.
Yep. Good.
Any questions on any of this before we do that?
Happy? Thank you, Jono. Yeah.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah, it's a good lesson. This very powerful.
Very big.
Because if you can really do this, it's a major. Grievances are a major cornerstone of the ego's thought system. If you can drop them quickly, as you notice something arising, just let it go, and so it doesn't get stuck in there and entrenched and build. It's like a plaque, this cancer building in your mind over years and years and years. And this is why people get sick.
Yeah,
you keep holding this, and you do that for 20 years. All of that negative energy is going to manifest as physical disease, inevitably. Whereas if you could just let it go moment by moment, it's not saying you're never going to be tempted to hold a grievance. So you notice the ego arises and it's like, oh, okay, so maybe that lasts a few minutes, and then you're just aware of it and you say, okay, I need to clear this out. I need to just release this. So don't hold it for long. And so the sort of barometer of your spiritual growth is how quickly can you let go of your grievances. That's a very good barometer. Good. Do you hold on to them for hours, weeks? If it's weeks, then not very enlightened. Days, okay, at least you could drop it. Hours, okay, you're getting somewhere. Minutes, now you're starting to talk. Minutes, just drop it. Release it. So you notice the energy, okay, I clear it. And ultimately, if you keep doing that, eventually you're just like, there's no grievance, just doesn't arise. It's like I'm beyond a grievance. It's no longer something that I even hold to start with. That's where we're trying to get, so it never arises. But in the meantime, the work is, okay, we'll just do it quicker. Let it go more quickly, so you don't hold it in your mind and in your energy system for any longer than is necessary. Okay, so let's, without further ado, let's go into the med, shall we? So just making yourself comfortable. Sitting feet shoulder width apart, keep your back straight, cup your hands in your lap, close your eyes, and start off by taking a nice deep breath in through the nose, just breathing in, noticing how the stomach rises and the chest rises, and the subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. You clench your sphincter muscle, you lock the energy in, draw the energy up your spine, into your heart center. I'm going to stay in your heart for this one, because it's all about going into the heart, which is where love resides. So breathe in to the heart, like you're breathing in this loving presence, the love that holds no grievances. And now bring to mind any thoughts, any situations, to start with, that you're holding grievances about. And they might be major grievances, might be a minor grievance. Just bring it all up, bring it to mind. So minor grievances against those you like and even think you love, but how can you really love them if you're holding a grievance? So notice those thoughts, notice the emotions, the sensations in the body maybe that show up. Just breathe into them to create some space, some light that helps you. You can visualize breathing golden or white light into these areas of darkness in your body. You're breathing it into your mind. Maybe it's just a sense of spacious awareness, a light awareness coming in. And now determine to see all these people against whom you thought you held grievances as friends. Say to them all, as you think of each one in turn, I would see you as my friend, so that I can remember that you are part of me and come to know myself. Say that to each person in turn. Each time just breathe in again, and you're breathing this loving presence, this friendly presence, to help you to see them in their true light, to see them as friends. So even the person who seemingly hurt you, go to the point of pain, a major trauma in your life, bring them to mind, and see them as your friend. Right? Really, they were actually giving you the most powerful lesson of your life. They were playing their part perfectly to help you to free your mind from the illusion of form, of being a body, of being condemned to death. And whatever they did was there to free you. And they needed to do that in order for you to learn this powerful lesson that you are one with God, you are love, you are the one self. So why would you hold a grievance when they were doing exactly what they needed to do? And you agreed to this. Before you came here, there was a soul contract. You agreed to it all. They agreed to do it, you agreed to experience it and to learn this lesson. So you honor them when you let go of the grievance. Otherwise, what they did for you is in vain. It's only worthwhile if you see it in its true light and you let it go. So just blow it all away now with the breeze of your breath, letting it all go. Dropping the grievance, imagine you blowing it out like black smoke out of your mouth. It's going, gone. Pull the lower stomach into the spine. Expel the last remaining air out. And just let go of the grievance. Dropping into the nothingness that it really is. experiencing the peace, the freedom that comes when you do drop your grievances. So try to think of yourself as completely at peace with everyone and everything. Breathe this peace in to every pore of your body, every cell, every muscle, every part of your mind, every fiber of your being is in this peace. The peace that comes when you let go of grievances. That you are completely at peace with everyone and everything. You are safe in a world that protects you and loves you, and that you love in return. There is no grievance against anyone or anything. There is no attack. There is no fear. Try to feel safety surrounding you, enveloping you, supporting you, holding you up. Try to believe, however briefly, that nothing can harm you in any way. So right now, in this state of mind, in this holy state beyond grievances, this is true. Right now, nothing can harm you in any way. So get a sense of that. Your invulnerability, perfect safety and protection in love. It's a thought system where grievances and attack and harm simply do not exist. So sink into it, surrender to the experience of it. Remind yourself, love holds no grievances. When I let all my grievances go, I will know I am perfectly safe. This is the truth. So in this grievance-free state, just give yourself a few minutes just to experience the perfect safety, the peace, the love that lie beyond your grievances. You experience even a little glimpse of this eternal state, and you'll have no problem being motivated to let go of grievances in future, because you will remember these grievances just block the awareness of love's presence. You will remember the state beyond that you want above all else. You want this pure formless awareness. You want this loving presence. Love that holds no grievances, the unconditional love. So just surrender into that for a few minutes of deep silence. Remind yourself there's nowhere else to go, there's nothing else to do, nothing else to think about. Just breathe, relax, and be still, and surrender into the love that holds no grievances. For the next few minutes of deep silence. And if any grievances arise to seemingly tempt you back into their fold, just look at them. This calm, detached way, you're beyond them, you're above the clouds of your grievances, you're in the light of your source. And you smile and you look at them and you say, I will not be tempted anymore. Because love holds no grievances. So I choose to let all my grievances go and know that I am perfectly safe. right now. So blow them away with the breeze of your breath to the nothingness they really are. It's cloud patterns dissipating, and you rest in the blue sky of your pure formless awareness and the source that shines through it, this eternal light that shines through it. Another couple of minutes of deep silence. And so gently bringing your awareness back into the body and the breath and the senses and the world. And on the count of 3, you can open your eyes. So 1, just breathing in, noticing how the stomach rises and the chest rises. And the subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. Clenching the sphincter muscle, noticing the energy rising up into the spine, into your heart center. Put one hand in your heart just to connect in with the love that sits there, the love that holds no grievances. Draw the energy all the way up, spine into the crown of your head, pausing at the top of the inhale. Smile. So again, scan your mind, notice any grievances that are still lurking there. So that's any kind of negativity, any little irritation. Minor irritation is a grievance. Annoyance, irritation, ranging to intense fury and rage, it's all grievances. If anything's still lurking there, just notice it. Remind yourself that you want to see the person as a friend, so that I can remember that they are part of me and come to know myself. And remind yourself, love holds no grievances. So when I let all my grievances go, I will know that I'm perfectly safe. So exhale, blow that little grievance away like a cloud, dark cloud, just leaving you to the nothingness that it really is. Blow it away with the breeze of your breath, and find the light, the source shining through the true awareness, your formless awareness. Just rest in that at the bottom of the exhale. Notice the weight of your body on the count of 2, pressing down into the chair, feet touching the ground. So you breathe in again, notice any subtle smell in your nose, perhaps a taste in your mouth. Notice what you're hearing. Just noticing all these things from this state of pure formless awareness. There is no grievance. You're simply being aware of it without any judgment. This is how you stay grievance free. Simply don't give your perceptions a reality. And now on the count of 3, open your eyes. Just look around, take a minute just to notice various objects in the room around you. Without any judgment, without any interpretation, these things are just, they have no power to affect you negatively. So stay rooted in this awareness for the next few hours until our evening session. To help you do that, send you a couple of shorter breath breaks you can practice, or just bring the idea to mind. Jesus is asking you to do it many times an hour. So if you can remember, it only needs to take a few seconds, or use, I think there's a 97-second recording and a 3.5 minute one. So use one of those, and we'll practice this lesson again this evening. We'll do another meditation on it and get into our text, which is the Unhealed Healer. It's a good section, so don't miss tonight.
Really, that Vanessa and Gary will be online tonight.
They're going to join.
Yeah, that's the intention.
Okay, great. Yeah, amazing. So
yeah,
look forward to that. I sent her another email. So
nice. All right, thanks very much indeed. See you later.
Yeah, let me just stop the recording. I know